So we see that how the county inspector just shares his observation with the mother, that is Mrs. Jones, and tells her that nothing is wrong with your daughter, Mrs. Jones, but there was problem with the mechanical teacher and he is actually slowed it to an average 10-year-old child. So now everything is fine and it's going to work perfectly well. Margie was disappointed. She had been hoping they would take the teacher away altogether. They had once taken Tommy's teacher away for nearly a month because the history sector had blanked out completely. Now we see that Margie is totally disappointed because her teacher was not taken away, as once Tommy's teacher was taken away because of there was problem with the teacher with regards to the history sector. But we see that Margie's teacher came back in 1 hour. The county inspector fixed up the teacher and she is very disappointed. So she said to Tommy, why would anyone write about school? Now we come to know the reason why Margie hated school so much. Because of the mechanical teacher. Tommy looked at her with very superior eyes because it's not our kind of school, stupid. Now, Tommy has understood that Margie is not able to understand what type of schools are mentioned in this book. And therefore, he finds her to be asking stupid questions. And therefore, he's acting superior, higher above just because he knows more from the book. This is the old kind of school that they had hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Now, class 9, I would like to say that these schools, old kind of schools, when they're talking about them, they're talking about us, you, the kind of schools you have, right? He added loftily in a superior way again because he knows more than Margie. Pronouncing the word carefully, centuries ago. Centuries means hundreds of years ago. That is us, right? At our times. Margie was hurt. Well, I don't know what kind of schools they had all that time ago. She read the book over his shoulder for a while, then said, anyway, they had a teacher. Now Margie is hurt. You know why she's hurt? Because the way Tommy is acting superior to her. And then she is confused totally. You can see through this picture how interestingly she is looking at the book and waiting upon Tommy to give her more information. And then she said to him, as she looks over his shoulder, she's also wanting to peep into the book. And then she says, anyways, they had a teacher. That is, she's actually relating to her own mechanical teacher. She had absolutely no idea that what kind of teacher the old kind of children and schools had. Now, what did Tommy reply to her? Tommy said, sure, they had a teacher, but it wasn't a regular teacher. It was a man. Now, what is the meaning of regular? Here, regular means normal, of the usual kind. And we must know that these children of the future, for them, regular or normal is a mechanical teacher, not a man. And for them, man was not the normal kind of teacher, right? So he is saying, sure, they had a teacher, but it was not the normal kind of teacher that we have, but it was a man. A man? How could a man be a teacher? Margie asks. Well, he told the boys and girls things and gave them homework and asked them questions. That was the explanation of Tommy about the teacher who was a man. A man isn't smart enough, Margie says. And then Tommy says to that, sure he is. My father knows as much as my teacher. Now, Tommy argues to the point as she says that a man isn't smart enough. But according to Tommy, his father was smart enough. Almost as much he knew as his teacher knew. He knows much, almost as much. I betcha. Betcha means I bet you. I am sure I can bet you that my father knows as much as my teacher. Margie wasn't prepared to dispute that, right? Dispute means disagree with. She wasn't wanting to disagree anymore to the fact because she also knew, she must be knowing about her father as well. She said, I wouldn't want a strange man in my house to teach me. Now, Margie is again saying that she would not allow anybody in the house who's a strange man. Tommy screamed with laughter. Now, this fact that Margie is not able to understand made Tommy laugh out loud. You don't know much, Margie. The teachers didn't live in the house. They had a special building and all the kids went there. Now, when they're talking about such schools, such buildings, so now we can relate that they are talking about us. And all the kids learn the same thing? Margie asks. Tommy says, sure, if they were the same age. But my mother says a teacher has to be adjusted to fit the mind of each boy and girl. It teaches, and that each kid has to be taught differently. Now you know that these children were accustomed to the mechanical teacher, which was pre-programmed to teach a certain age. It was adjusted according to the age of the child. And therefore, Margie is not able to understand the concept of a teacher teaching so many children at the same time. Right? Just the same, they didn't do it that way then. If you don't like it, you don't have to read the book. Now, Tommy is actually troubled by the number of questions Margie is putting up to him. He says, well, during that time it was that way, when one teacher used to teach a number of children of the same age. I didn't say I didn't like it, Margie said quickly. She wanted to read about those funny schools. Actually, she also got so much interested and inquisitive to know about the old funny schools. They weren't even half finished when Margie's mother called, Margie, school. Margie looked up. Not yet, Mama. So, you see that Margie never wanted to go back to the school of her kind because she got so much interested to know about the funny kind of schools that existed many, many, many years ago. Now, said Mrs. Jones, and it's probably time for Tommy too. Margie said to Tommy, can I read the book some more with you after school? Now, Margie is requesting Tommy to share his book with her after she is over with her school. Maybe, he said nonchalantly. Now, what is the meaning of nonchalantly? It means not showing much interest or enthusiasm, carelessly. Now, Tommy at this point is not willing to share his book so much because he wants to read it first. And therefore, he just walks away, whistling, and the book is nicely, securely tucked beneath his arm. Very precious for him at this time. He's got some treasure from the attic. Margie went into the schoolroom. It was right next to her bedroom, and the mechanical teacher was on and waiting for her. Margie, not wanting to go back to school, goes back, sits there, because she finds the mechanical teacher so boring. So boring. It was always on at the same time every day except Saturday and Sunday. So she had to go back because that was what her mother wanted. Now see, she is sitting on her chair and the mechanical teacher is flashing on the screen. Because her mother said little girls learn better if they learned at regular hours. That was the understanding of the mother. That's what mother believed. The screen was lit up and it said, today's arithmetic lesson is on. The addition of proper fractions. Please insert yesterday's homework in the proper slot. Margie did so with a sigh. Sigh means a deep breath. She was thinking about the old schools they had when her grandfather's grandfather was a little boy. Now Margie's thoughts are back into that book, thinking about the funny schools. That must be such fun. All the kids from the whole neighborhood came. laughing and shouting in the schoolyard, sitting together in the schoolroom, going home together at the end of the day. They learned the same things so they could help one another with the homework and talk about it. Now she can imagine what it would have been like many, many years ago when the kids of the same age, whole neighborhood, laughing, shouting like the way you do, children, presently. And the teachers were people, right? The mechanical teacher was flashing on the screen. When we add fraction, half, and 1/4, and so on. Margie was thinking about how the kids must have loved it in the old days. She was thinking about the fun they had. So, isn't it an interesting story, children, which will make you understand the importance of your school at present, right? Thus, I conclude, children, that the story, the fun they had, does show us the reality of technology taking over in the future. And I hope that you have understood this lesson. It's a beautiful, beautiful story which will ultimately make us love the kind of schools that we are in and our teachers. Thank you for joining me today.